Luke chapter 2, verse 39. After the brother is born, the Christ child is born. Watch what Mary and Joseph do. They go to the temple and they handle all the ceremonies and everything, the rituals. Luke chapter 2, verse 39. Let us read. And when they had performed all things according to the law of the Lord, they returned into Galilee to their own city, Nazareth. So they went back to the Galilee. It said return to Galilee. Do you understand that? Return to Galilee. So they didn't live, they already lived in Galilee, according to the Gospel of Luke. But Matthew don't say it like that. Matthew, he was born in Bethlehem. Never said they lived in the Galilee before that. Never said that. But it words it in Matthew chapter 2, verse 23. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth. So this is the first time that they came to Nazareth. Because they were, like I said, they were going back to Judea. But when Joseph found out, when he had heard that Herod's son, Archelaus, reigned in Judea, he was scared. So they didn't go back because of that reason. They was going back there. Like I said earlier, there was something that I read within these so-called prophecies that was going to come into play later. Well, here it is right here, showing you that this is proof that they lived in Bethlehem before that and not the Galilee. Chapter 2, Matthew chapter 2, verse 16. Let us read. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Now, keep that in mind. Go back to verse 11. The wise men coming to see the Christ child. And when they were come into the house, whose house? Mary and Joseph's house. They saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshiped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. So they was living in a house. Verse 16 tell you that at the time that Herod tried to kill him, he was about 2 years old. Tack on another 9 months for Mary to be pregnant. This was a house that they had to been living in for at least 3 years. You ain't staying in no hotel or no town that you ain't from for no damn 3 years. So it tell you right here they were living in the house till the brother was at least 2 years old. So they was from Bethlehem, according to the Gospel of Matthew. You understand that? They was from Bethlehem. Luke tell you, now, like I said, this got to be a contradiction. There ain't no way around this, man. When he was born in Bethlehem, it tell you they were still there when he was 2 years old. Luke tell you they was in the Galilee. They left the Galilee to go to Bethlehem for the census. They took the census. When the brother was born, they went for the census. The brother was born. When he was born, they did what was required of the temple. And when they finished, they went to hell back to Galilee. And Luke don't say nothing about they was in Bethlehem for 2 years and Herod tried to kill the babies and then they ran into Egypt. And then a year later, they came back when Archelaus was ruling. It don't say nothing about that. That's a contradiction. Now, Luke don't say nothing about the wise men coming. Luke don't say nothing about Herod trying to kill the babies. Luke don't say nothing about them running into Egypt when he was 2 years old. Matthew don't say nothing about the census. He don't say nothing about Augustus calling for the census when Quirinius was the governor of Syria. All right? And you can find that in Luke chapter 2, right at the beginning. As it says in verse 1, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. Well, we know that the reason for the tax, see, it is no way around it, because we know that the reason for the tax was that when Herod's son, the reason Matthew don't say nothing about it, because Matthew ain't talking about that. Because Matthew tell you when Joseph now came back, Herod's son Archelaus was ruling in Judea. Well, the reason for the tax was because when Herod died, his son Archelaus reigned for 10 years. But the nigga wasn't right, just like his father Herod wasn't right, and he was being cruel to the people. So the leaders of the Samaritans and the Jews got together, and they went and complained before Augustus that the guy was being too cruel. So once they did that, Augustus exiled Archelaus, Herod's son, to France, which back then was called Gaul, and he put Quirinius as the governor of Syria to take an account on that land. That's what the tax was for. That's what the census was for, to take an account of that land. Because at that time, by taking Herod, because they were like puppets, Herod and his family were like the puppet kings. But when Archelaus had fucked up like that, he exiled him, and he put a Roman governor in charge there. So now Judea came under direct Roman control. And so they had to take a census of that area. So they didn't take no census of no whole world. You understand? Of the whole Roman Empire, nothing like that. No, it was just for that land. So somebody between these two gospels don't know what the hell they talking about. In other words, the census took place 10 years after Herod died. And Luke says that the brother was born during the census. Matthew says the brother was born at least 2 years before Herod died. So there's a contradiction there. All right. Here's another so-called prophecy. Now we done dealt with some of these contradictions. Now we gonna really break down what the fuck is going on. Now this is where we get to the point now. This is why I'm gonna get to the point now where you seeing the truth behind the whole thing, what they covering up. This is from the book The Wars of the Jews by Flavius Josephus. This is book number 2. All right. Chapter 8 of The Wars of the Jews. Let us read in paragraph 2. For there are 3 philosophical sects among the Jews, the followers of the first of which are the Pharisees, of the second the Sadducees, and the third sect, which pretends to a severer discipline, are called Essenes. Now notice, like I said with the brother for the gathering of Christ mentioned the Essenes. Notice, these were the 3 groups. The Essenes were one of the 3 major sects. The gospel don't never mention the Essenes. They talk about it. They talk all about the Pharisees, Sadducees. They talk about the priests. They talk about the scribes. But they never talk about the Essenes. They never mention the Essenes. How the hell is this really talking about what was going on? Is the gospel really talking about what was going on in Judea back in those days? But you don't mention the major folks that was dealing. I'm going to tell you why. Because Jesus, so-called what you call Jesus Christ, or Yahweh or Yeshua, or whatever the fuck, was not born of no virgin. He was not part of no Holy Trinity. His blood didn't save damn nigga but himself. This brother was, and John the Baptist were parts, and I know you done heard this before. I know you done heard this theory before, but we finna break it down. They were parts of this group, the Essenes. They were teachers of this group, the motherfucking Essenes. That's what they were. Because the gospel never mentions them. It never mentions the Essenes. It talk about the Pharisees and Sadducees. Josephus says the Essenes was one of the 3 major sects.